Welcome to the first episode of the 2021 Overwatch League season. We are almost exactly 48 hours away from match number 1, and in typical Crouch fashion, we are bringing you our power rankings 2 days early, so you only have a couple days to criticize them before we are validated and all right. And all of our
we're so smart.
All of our power rankings are going to be the same and right.
Correct.
They're going to be the worst for me.
Mine is so real talk. My rankings for NA is total shit.
I'm sure they're fine.
It's going to be so bad, dude.
No, it's not.
The thing is, this time around, I didn't write 8,000 words, really thinking about each step and rolling them out. What I instead did was I went into Slimo stuff like 5 minutes ago, send it 3 minutes before the episode to Eric. I asked Eric, is anything really wrong here? He went like, nah, this has a high upside of being right, which also means on average, it's fucking wrong.
You could win. You're playing to win. You know, let's spin it that way. You're playing to win.
100%. I'm not getting packed this season. I'm not getting packed.
Yeah, it's gonna be a kind of a crazy one. This one was pretty tough. We do have a couple pieces of news and things to go through though before we jump into our power rankings, and let's do so. First, big thank you to everybody tuning in. 100 of you watching us live at twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. If you like the show, you want to tune in live every Wednesday at noon. Twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. That's where we are. Come hang out. Come chat. Come tell us how stupid we are. Let's have an argument. That's all great. We love it. Second, we tweet from tactical_crouch. And of course, our Patreon is at patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. By the way, big thank you to our patron producers: Refined Bean, Ferdino, Battlecrab, Lolshin, Rex Zane, Sir Girthalot, Porkchop Sammy, Kasha67, Shara, Nathan Your Misery, Fabled Steven, Roger B, Chris R34444, Bronzebot, Boohow, and Hotel Bravo 11. If you like the show, want to support, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch again. We appreciate all the support, and we love you all. Thanks. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on here, though. And the first kind of interesting thing this past week is we're getting some new stats and information on the Overwatch League website, powered by Watson. IBM's Watson.
The one and only.
And I'm really interested, Yiska, and Joe, honestly, you guys look at the numbers quite a bit. What are your thoughts on bringing in IBM Watson here to track some? I believe there's some player power standings, and there's just overall team ranking standings using IBM Watson.
I think, and I won't put words in Yiska's mouth, I think the efficacy is interesting. I'd be interested to see exactly what they're measuring, but overall, I think it is a fantastic way to kind of help the discussion along in terms of like, oh, who's a good player, who's a bad player, you know, like who's performing, who isn't performing, why that might be. Giving people, like, people enjoy rankings. That's why we're doing this show, right? Like, people want a 1 through 10 list of like good, not so good, 1 through 10, easy, kind of edible in that way. And people want to not necessarily argue about it, but they want to latch on to that, and they want to say like, oh, you know, you want to argue all of these like NBA stats. I don't know how many times I've heard people on podcasts talk about, you know, the Jordan LeBron argument, right? Like, it's always supported with all of these like factual, like, oh, well, Jordan had these many steals and, you know, defensive player of the year, this and da da da. It's like, well, LeBron James is, you know, it's a different year. And it's those arguments kind of what make, at least to me, traditional sports kind of feel real in that way. And I think we're kind of missing that tangible, like, argument factor where like everything is like, oh, well, they were just a better player because like their mechanics were good. It's like, well, there's not a lot there. So it's going, I think this is going to support a lot of like fruitful and not so fruitful discussion regarding the league, but in general, I think it will spur on a lot of good things, even though they might not necessarily be good. I think it's just good PR in general for the league, for the people to get talking about stuff. But I guess in my like nerdy neck of the woods, I'd be interested to see exactly what they're measuring, because if it is just like healing damage done, I wonder how that evolves into the game. And I wonder if that actually is just something that we're maybe overlooking or under evaluating.
They use over 360 performance statistics.
Mm-hmm.
See, that would be interesting. It's kind of vague. I'd be interested to see how those are weighted and like what's like. I'd love a breakdown of exactly like what goes into it. Not a full breakdown, but like something interesting. I think it's super cool. I know that they have, they've talked about having, Watson do some other things regarding, statistics and whatnot. So it's starting early, which is a good sign. And I think it's it will catalyze some discussion. I'll say that.
There is a 2-minute and 3-second video called "How Power Rankings Are Calculated." I missed this.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
But it looks like Zoe.
So keep in mind, like, sorry,
is the one explaining it. Yeah. It's
like,
Zoe, right?
Yeah. From my point of view, it's like it just has to be better than comparing player damage against player damage.
Yeah.
Like that's already an improvement. It will be interesting to see if this is actually really good. I'll straight up tell you, if I wasn't an esports journalist and was just a well-connected, I could make 3 times my salary within the first month of the odds right now are so atrociously bad. The money, like, I mean, the odds will eventually normalize, but incredible amount. Like that's it was legitimately some GameSpot type of shit. Like
GameStop,
with
like GME to the moon type. Yeah.
Dude, like Houston against Dallas is a to the moon
I heard
type.
about that.
It was like 4.5 for Houston or something. Like complete utter nonsense, right?
I don't know how betting companies are in Overwatch. I'm gonna be straight up real with you. Like that has got to be a tough market to get a hold of.
Yeah. So, okay, Dream comes in and says, in season 1, before I worked in Overwatch, I made more money betting on games than I did at my full-time insurance job. Volamel. Yes, they were so atrocious. So if this now comes in and they have the better baseline to set like baseline odds until the market corrects, like this is going to be pretty significant in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in seeing what it brings. Theoretically, like the name value of it is pretty big. I will say the feedback I've gotten so far, and I'm not sure if teams had insight, but like people told me their gut feeling is that it's going to suck, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, like, just looking at the top 10 on the website right now, if you go to the top 10 overall players in Overwatch League, like, what are your thoughts on that list?
Was that not for like the end of season? I think that was.
Yes, it's for last season, but
right.
Yeah,
but I think it's more for like again, just from what I saw briefly on Twitter, I think Captain Planet had like qualified that as like, okay, this was for like the end of season. That's why you're only seeing like representation of the top teams. It's not like for the season as a whole, from my understanding. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I mean, it checks out for the most part.
I don't see anything in there that's like, ooh, that's way off. Like all those players are probably top 10 players in my opinion.
A lot of those players, again, for their roles and even overall, like it checks out. It makes sense.
Troy is interestingly high. I will say that.
Is it? Do you think it's that strange to have a flex tank that high though?
No, because Void is also there.
Yeah.
Like,
so Dream.
I mean, if,
by the way,
if they understand it, right?
Dream just posted in chat, and this is a pretty interesting piece. He goes, when I was interviewing for an Overwatch League CDL position during the off season, it had a lot to do with the IBM partnership, and they were taking this very seriously and will be putting tons of resources into iterating and making this the best system possible. I'm sure it will start not perfect, but they're gonna make sure it gets really good.
Interesting.
That's hopeful.
So,
That's definitely
nice.
a good thing.
I just don't want, like, I know
The league needs this.
the NFL stats really piss me off because they have IBM Watson, or it might be Amazon or something, and like the NFL stats are like, this throw had a 12% chance of being complete. Let's see if he pulls
if we're
it
going
in.
that granular, I don't know.
And that,
Yeah, that's a
I was
bit
just like,
much.
that doesn't, that's bad. It's just bad content. But
Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know.
The thing is, if this is actually good, the implications of this are actually absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah.
You can theoretically, if you get access to this, you can throw that into trials. You can throw that into contenders. People will have a valued estimation, because the problem of Overwatch is like everyone is good. At some point, some analyst is going to say he's like great, he's like top 5. And suddenly everyone is top 5 in someone's opinion. And everyone can reasonably argue that. If this is actually good, it is going to... dude, this is a huge viewership draw because the narratives get much more focused that way.
Yes. Then it just becomes about wielding them the right way and using them in correct fashions to support those narratives. 100% agreed. And even then, like, even with like tool assisted like viewing, like I watched a little thing on blue clay in tennis recently regarding like or it wasn't blue clay, but it had something to do with tennis and like the way that they AI calculate, you know, whether a ball is in or out, and people still argue that. And some people would rather have, you know, hands-on judges, and some people would rather the cameras take over and run everything. So even with like a 99% accuracy rating, like people still want that like human judgment call rather than leaving it to a machine to figure it around. So you're still always are going to have those arguments, whether it's like, well, I think this performance metric is better in this meta, therefore, you know, I weight this person higher, this player higher, this style. You know, I think it raises the floor of a lot of these discussions, which is super, super positive. But it blows if it's done properly, if this is done well, and what Dream's saying is a confidence booster, we're going to have a ton of stuff to talk about and review. And
the only thing that I will say, if IBM Watson analyzed some end of season matches and whatever, and was able to spit out this list just kind of as is, I think it's relatively impressive. And I'm a little bit more optimistic, unless this had a lot of human input on it, in which case.
Let's start by putting Violet first. That is the correct thing. And then we go from there. Actually, probably legitimately not a bad idea.
Yeah, get the headline, you know, Violet high. Like, okay, at least we're there. At least we can agree on that. And then we can go down the list.
Yeah.
But
so anyways,
we'll see.
Be looking for that to be integrated into the website, and I'm sure it'll be integrated into the Overwatch League production as well in 2021. Pretty cool. Let's talk about...
You know who's going to be a little animal about this? LB is going to go crazy with that shit. He's just like a little encyclopedia for those unaware. Good member of the community, former writer for the editorial team on the Overwatch League website. That kid's going to go nuts with those stats. LB's, if you haven't caught up with Contenders Korea, go check him out.
Cool. Yeah. Let's talk about a few of the other kind of big things that happened. Of course, thankfully it happened before we had the publisher power rankings. First one.
True.
XZ has retired from the Overwatch League due to some personal health issues. Hasn't put the total totally written off a future in esports in the Overwatch League, but at the moment it's not an option. So the Dallas Fuel currently look like this, with just 2 tanks, Fearless and Hanbin, which, you know, is a big just 2, don't get me wrong. 3 supports, Fielder, Repel, and Jexa, and 2 DPS in Doha and Sparkle. Obviously missing a really strong hit scan player there.
Yeah, that hole is need to get that has to get filled, and we know that pieces are not easy to come by. So this just sucks all around. I feel for XE. I hope he, you know, hope his health improves. I hope he can find some sort of therapeutic remedy to help him, and hopefully his quality of life is better or is improving in the near future. It sucks for Dallas because, again, I'll stand by what I said. This looked like a great roster to perform domestically, and he's going to be sorely missed.
Now the interesting part about this is,
yes,
let's say it.
The interesting part about this is, so I talked to the agent of Happy, and Happy was like, a lot of people were interested in Happy this season, right?
Okay. Dallas
swatted that idea off really quickly in the preliminary look at, like, to explain, like, people get like offers, or like, there's like options being shown to teams in order to have an idea what the market looks like, right? And like pretty early on, this was swatted off, but Houston was actually super on the ball on this. So they really wanted this player, right? Like really courted him to the point where Happy actually wanted to land there, right? Just keep this in mind when you see Happy playing this season. Just food for thought when he's like a top 3 hit scan DPS player, potentially like World Star candidate. Just keep this in mind once that happens, and the Dallas Fuel will have issues with a hit scan player. Now, I also am sympathetic towards like XC. That's the dude of the Paris Eternal. You want that guy. That said, if you guys go back, he was the last one signed, right?
True.
So, like, I'm not sure like what the idea behind that was, but like, yeah, that's an interesting observation that we will refer back to, unless Dallas gets a sick hit scan, and I think they need a full hit scan. So yeah,
they are going to need a full hit scan. Somebody who can play Tracer, who can be at least serviceable at mid to long range. So that's Ash, Widow, McCree. And yeah, they still need to figure out what they're going to do with Tracer. I agree with some of the stuff they said publicly that, yes, you have a serviceable level Tracer. I think Doha or Sparkle could probably play Tracer to a decent degree. But this is one of those heroes that consistently comes back and is proven to be like a playmaking carry all-star pick that you need somebody good on. You can't have somebody serviceable and put him against Striker and think you're going to win a title. You can't have somebody serviceable and just rattle off Tracer players across the league, and they're just overwhelmingly dominant. And it comes the same argument with Widowmaker, and it's just like, I agree, but only to an extent.
So what do you do at this point? You're Tasmo. You went out, or Hastro, sorry. You're Hastro. You went out, you talked about how much you were investing into this season to win, and with 3 days left on the clock, one of your star players and a player with no depth on your team can't play. By the way, I don't know what went on behind the scenes or how Exy was able to break a contract or how supportive Dallas was, but
I think he's still on contract. I think the wording of it all is a little bizarre, because like he's saying he's not like fully retired, and it sounds like he's still on contract. He's just inactive. So I don't know. Again, maybe more public information will be released, but or maybe a clarification is needed. But from my understanding, he's still on contract, but is like inactive.
Got it. So
but that's from social media. So
cool. Well, good job at the people with Dallas being supportive of that, whether they had to or not. Who do you guys then want to see fill that spot for the Dallas Fuel?
My mind kind of immediately jumps to somebody like Nene from New York. I know everybody's. I agree, guys. I think Libero's great. My big issue with just like importing a player in general is it's so late into the process. I don't know exactly the availability of getting a visa for a player to actually get here. If that's the case, they might have to do like a 30-day like NA player and just hope it kind of works out. Maybe an IM37 type character springs up that, speaks the language, understands the culture, but also has like an NA residency. I really don't know. I do wonder if Rush is actually still as prominent and if there isn't a little bit more viability elsewhere that Dallas can kind of tinker around with. It sucks all around. I wouldn't expect them to do extremely well, but there's some hopeful outs here for them. It really kind of depends on the metagame within I guess basically May, because I think I would assume I'm not a immigration lawyer by any means. I would guess by at least June or summer they might be able to get somebody in, if and I think it's probably necessary, but I would hope that at some point they'd be able to import somebody.
Cool. Are you kind of in the same
immigration lawyer tier?
Need a good one, apparently, one of these days.
Yeah.
Is Nene that player for you, Yiska, do you think?
I mean, it could be, but like you also need the full package, right? Like Nene is a good shout. My question is always like, if someone looks so good like Nene did, what's the thing then that is like, what's going on there, right?
I agree.
So we'll see.
Like why is he not landed on another team if you saw
yeah.
Okay. That's true.
He had a fantastic stint on LW Red. Like his hit scan's great. Like why? Like the eye really test doesn't match up to the contract signed or lack thereof. So
sure.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's go on to the next piece of news. And this is the Boston Uprising have ruined Sudan's career.
No, stop.
That's the problem with like a news piece that actually
It's not. I'll just say for a second, because we had a conversation
right
7 or 8 episodes ago where we talked about how the loyalty of individual players versus individual fans and
100%
on individual and franchises, and I made the correlation that I think Students fans are very loyal and Uprising fans are very loyal as well, but there's there can be some clash there. Somebody took it way out of context for me just saying that the Boston Uprising are going to ruin soon, so it was just a joke, guys.
Just a joke.
It's just a joke. The Uprising didn't ruin soon. In fact, I think that the Uprising have done a great job this offseason. And
I was kind of excited to see him play. I felt like he had a very poignant role with this roster, and it sucks that he, visa issues again, taking another life.
Let me just say this real quick, because I'm side-eyeing the Reddit thread. A lot of people are very negative on the Uprising. Like, yes, other organizations that is true. Other organizations like Philly, like Washington Justice, they continue to pay these players as if they were they had these players further on their roster and support. Right. So there's a precedent that you can treat that situation differently. However, within the contractual structure of that Soon had, sources were able to confirm to me that that Soon was paid out the full amount that his contract under the new PSA. So keep in mind, like the new PSA allows contracts to have a clause in there that pay a 30-day severance at minimum, and then it's negotiable.
Sure.
Without having disclosed the amount of the severance, I was able to confirm that Soon is going to get that. So I'm not sure if it was for cause or without cause terminated. For cause termination in the Overwatch League is, for instance, not having a visa.
Right.
Okay. So if you don't get a visa, you can for cause terminate a contract and get around the severances. That there's no, whether it was or wasn't, there is no functional difference here, because within the no loophole was used in order to get this sorted. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no shenanigans going on for the Uprising. If you have an internal company structure that also, like, just in context, a bunch of big American businesses have that, but it's not the norm. It's definitely a choice. The craft group has it. So, and people basically told me like you therefore get also some benefits. You can evaluate, be my guest to evaluate like where you land morally on this. Just providing the background information on this.
Do you think you got any BlizzBucks?
I think you got $100 gift card.
Maybe
some Uprising silver, if you will.
Some Uprising merch.
Couple
got to keep his skins.
Vouchers for the concession stand in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's a pretty astute question in chat. You know, you kind of were a little vague when it came to like the severance. You mentioned that there's a 30-day severance and then it's negotiable. Were you referencing that, you know, perhaps he's getting a little bit more than the 30 days? Was it like a full severance of the whole contract?
The problem is, by the nature of who I am, this might sound like I'm hinting at something. I actually don't know what his what the duration was, right?
Right.
I will say, and once again, this is no hint that this is in Sun's case. I genuinely don't know, but a lot of players, and I'm not sure if it's a majority or a minority, have negotiated that particular clause, and so it is a thing that definitely is up for debate. So that like it's not like just a clause that's just theoretically there, but the Overwatch League teams all deny it or don't have it in there anyway. It is like definitely something that is part of the negotiation process of an Overwatch League contract.
But from your understanding, everyth's above board here. No loopholes were used to kind of.
The only thing I wasn't able to confirm is what length the Uprising went in order to get the visa through.
Okay.
Because it's really complicated what you have to do. The fact that Soon already had a visa actually like helps him around the steps. The problem currently is that the Overwatch League is working on a talent exemption for the visa in the visa process for all players across the league. There's currently no progress on that as far as I know. So the problem being that currently it's just halted because presumably also is because of COVID, right? So it's not that that clear to me. Like, basically, if it comes out that something was messed up and he could have played if like the immigration lawyer did a better job or whatever. And once again, not insinuating that happened here, but I wouldn't have made any comment towards that with that post. I'm just saying like it also doesn't matter that much because if the Uprising just independently decided, we don't want Soon anymore and terminate without cause, then the result is the same.
Right. Makes sense. But obviously, you know, there's some pastures he's heading to. Heading over to that other game that everybody seems to be quite interested in. Going over to Valorant.
It's a pretty good game.
Pretty good.
And I agree with Dream in the chat. It's some old friends that may or may not be in need of a player of his caliber. So
yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if he reunited with some people.
For sure.
Oh yeah. All right. That's the news. Should we talk about these power rankings a little bit?
Got some teams to number.
This is important.
It is.
So our 2021 season power rankings. Let's go. We did East region last week. We're doing West region this week. We did our best to put as much information up on the screen as possible. And by we, I mean our awesome mod numbers god, Eric. And so big kudos to all the hard work he did there. You can see on the left-hand side the departures, the 2021 roster, their 2020 record, and where that landed in the Overwatch League and in the region. You can also see their 2021 schedule, including teams that they're doubled up against, teams that they play the most. For the individual columns, you'll see the tactical crouch / Yiska average ranking, the individual host ranking, the average host ranking, and then the plat chat ranking as well. So we'll be able to compare those all simultaneously. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Nice.
And we're going to go ahead and start with what I presume to be the bottom, the Vancouver Titans.
Is it though? I was told there was an interesting sandwich.
It is not a very interesting bottom loaf.
Yiska said the top of his bun was infinite. So maybe we just have the heel of the bread right here. And it sucks too, because there's, speaking with Flubby recently, like there's a lot of like wholesome feelings around this roster. I do hope they succeed, but it's really hard for me to be able to put them up in the rankings just off of some warm fuzzy feelings and some apple pie with grandma, by the fire, right? Like I need to see it in action before I can throw it up there. So it's a weaker roster, has some bright points, but I just don't see how it's going to compete. Sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a packing situation, Flubby and crew can really, get a lot of value from this roster. I don't know. I have to be real. I don't see it.
Isn't it amazing to have just like instead of having one of the best teams in the Overwatch League, you just have really bland players that are also really bad at the game? Like amazing.
Are you saying these players
not
are
really
bad at the game?
Sorry.
Okay.
No, it's hyperbole.
Comparatively,
yeah.
Like just like
this.
Why? And again, like Vancouver can also go to like 9th, probably in an A. I think that's the ceiling.
Yeah.
But like my beef, I probably completely botched this, by the way, but my beef is with the organization saying, we feel comfortable in this like poop hole here, like nice, like instead of like fully supporting
state of the art
a team that they already had and was winning trophies. Like
they screwed the pooch.
But this has to be one of the most like lean salary wise rosters.
It's
got to
be up there.
League.
It's got to be
unless there's information about they had to spend a lot more than minimum to get them to come mid season last year, and they're still on contracts from that. I don't know anything about that. Possible. But assuming that that's not the case, like this is, Linkser's probably your highest paid player on this one, right?
Probably. I would assume.
Yeah.
And
probably.
Yeah, I just like, I don't know. I feel like you could do more with the same amount of money or less at that point. Assuming that a lot of these players are making close to minimum.
Yeah. Probably. If I'm going to be honest, I'd probably agree. I don't know. It's tough. I don't envy being put into that how to differentiate this, right? Like the team's front office, not the org's front office, if that makes sense. Like the GM, the coaches. I don't envy their position because like you said, I'm sure their budget wasn't, endless by any stretch of the imagination. And at this point, I wonder if Vancouver is catching some flack with how they've handled stuff in the past, and maybe players would better off, playing contenders, earning titles there and building up their resume than, having a bid in the Vancouver Titans kind of mess. So it's a problem that really not easy to solve, not easy to kind of win people back in that way. If that's the case, again, speculation.
I wonder if there were any promises made last season about players being extended to this season, no matter what.
Possibly.
Then you got to sign up 2+1. Like,
I
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I already feel like we've spent too much time on a team this forgettable.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyways, no surprises there. Let's go to 11th here.
It already gets spicy.
The bun is not spicy on this one either.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
The bun is not spicy.
Not spicy.
The lettuce, the tomato.
No French Dijon on this sandwich. It is. This
is a thick, soggy bun right here.
Yep.
And I like these teams. I hope they do well. I think Paris has like a potential upside that I just don't see in Vancouver. There are bright spots in terms of the rookies. I've heard very good things about Khan. I've seen very good things in the preseason with Khan. He's definitely going to be a bright spot for this team. Has a lot of like veteran players that have been around for ages, it fucking feels like, that are good, that just really haven't ever landed in the Overwatch League. So I can see this team coming together and being better than 11th in NA. But for overall season, I can't. They're one of those teams that just falls and falls and falls. And I'm just like, they have a high ceiling. I think they could probably get like almost mid-table, like on a good stretch. I think they could be measured around mid-table, but again, as the season as a whole, I don't see this team being.
That's almost certainly, if that happens, almost certainly predicated on like other teams completely dropping the ball. Like
that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's always some teams that disappoint more than you thought they would.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you just go like, wait, that roster is this low? Mm-hmm. Jesus. Like
look how wrong we were with Atlanta last season. Look how wrong everybody was about Valiant last season.
This is also something where it's a bit weird because this is a team that was ranked 3rd in NA and 4th in Overwatch League last year. This will be the largest single season drop in standings I think we will have ever seen in the Overwatch League.
I hope I'm wrong again. I hope I get to apologize to Paris for the second time. I hope they do extremely well. I like I spoke with Ellie Vogt and Navala. Go read that piece, just got published I think yesterday. The way that they handled their tryouts was interesting. I'm interested to see exactly how it kind of coalesces. It's a building. It's like London in a way, but a little bit worse just because of like how late they were to things. I think they have a lot of good things running for them. It's a project though. It feels like it's a work in progress. Has some good things, but
this is also the team I think I am happy being the most wrong about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if they pop up to 9th or 8th, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a tough argument. Like, especially with this 10th team, without going and spoiling things, like there are brighter spots on some of these other rosters that I'm like, I can't justify putting Paris at high. I'm not comfortable with them. I know some people are, especially some of the contenders, guys and gals. So it's tough. I think everybody kind of agrees that like I would say most people agree that like 9th and below kind of feels like a tier in of itself. Like it feels like there's a big breaking point at 9, and then most of the league kind of takes off.
Yeah, I get that. I'll allow it. Anything else to add to the 2020 Eternal, or are we ready to go on?
Let's go.
All right, let's go. London Spitfire. Okay. Virtually everybody at 10. Joe drops them up to 9.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think London's good.
I don't know who you put there. I'm really interested who's 10 for you then. But we'll see.
I think you know.
This breaks my heart, right? Like it shouldn't be this low. But the problem is you like this is not a team that's like part of the bun at the bottom. Like that's a free flowing like little piece that just got caught up there, right? It's not necessarily supposed to be at that part of the burger. Like, but probabilistically, I don't see another chance of like earthing them there, so to speak, than in another position. Like the other teams, like coming up with 9 or 8 is so incredibly challenging. Like legitimately, I think my 9th team like could spike as high as 9, and I don't see that in London.
Mm-hmm.
So my 9th team can spike as high as 3rd. Yeah.
All right. 9th team can spike as high as 3rd.
I think so.
I lied.
Depending on what matters for. Yeah.
I lied. This is the team that I want to be the most wrong about. And I'm okay with it.
I think this is one that, again, it feels like Valiant to me. I feel like I have to put them here like
everything about this is very Valiant, right?
It feels very Valiant.
Shax.
I think this team, I think this is my team that like, if your 9th can be 3rd, I think this is my 9 could be 3rd team. Like this is a team that I think could get very wrong.
It's too high.
That is too high.
don't think
Don't get me
so.
wrong. I'm optimistic. By the way, shout outs to London Spitfire and Nuki for being I think really open and transparent about the roster building process and the articles or the obstacles that kind of they had to overcome and kind of the goals for the season. I think that this is the way that you build this is the wrong term, but I'm going to use it because I think it fits, right? This is the way you build a quote unquote mediocre team in the sense that let's just say a small market team, like a small ball team, something like that.
Better way.
Mediocre is the wrong term. Like a small market team. This is how you build a small market team, in my opinion. You get strong T1 players. You put a staff together that develops talent and has excellence there and is really well rooted in the region that you are competing in, and you just kind of let it build up and improve from there. And I think that they're going to do that. I could totally see this team going up to 6th.
Yeah. The problem is, if you want to be high, like seasonal tournaments are so important this year in order to rank, right? Like the 3 league points you get for winning between 3 and 1 wins is so significant towards the end stage that it's like you likely won't be able to be top 3 team unless you get to Hawaii a couple of times. Now, that team has to fly 17 hours to Hawaii. That's not going to be a good performance, either on that tournament or in the aftermath when they have to get back, even though they might have a break week after the tournament. That's just too much of a strenuous situation. Also, keep in mind they're playing at ping. There's a discussion about whether or not that's an advantage or disadvantage because like they always play at normalized ping. I don't know where we stand with this. Like it's
to your point,
it's going to be the learning
regarding actually getting to Hawaii and ping. Who says they actually can physically get to Hawaii?
That's also a question.
Like that is something you have to weigh.
And yes, and the contingency plans for that are atrociously bad. Because what can you do? Put them into
right. There's nothing you can. It's tough. You have to kind of figure it out on the fly, and I don't blame the league because
you
again,
almost have to then break off international tournaments as soon as a European team qualifies. Right,
because
that's also a disaster
for them to play on 250 some odd ping, right? Like that's not going to be a good performance. You don't want to see that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think it's that unreasonable for London to again land like Valiant did, get a Tracer Ash meta with Sparker in. I think this team has a lot of good pieces. I think it's a project team. Don't get me wrong. I stand by what I said numerous episodes ago when London started to build this out. I think, and again, 2 years, London could be in talks for not only the best European team, but like title contending. I think they could be like the leading Western team, like pure Western.
If Jack wants to take revenge on the Overwatch League, he just like pumps a bunch of money into that and just makes them like a Hawaii team every stage just by pure spite to just make the system look really, really bad. Because let's be perfectly honest, to say we're going to Hawaii and going to have international tournaments while 2 European rosters are set there where you don't really have any respectable solution is a competitive integrity problem. Yes, probabilistically is likely not going to happen, but that is a major stain on the competitive integrity this season.
It's a gamble. I don't think it's that outside. I think the one team, if I was gonna, put my money on a European team, it probably would have to be London. I don't think it's that crazy though, especially with like where Contenders was sat. From my understanding, it's not necessarily there as much anymore. But I think that team, the Spitfire roster in a Rush meta, in a Tracer Ash meta, with Sparker coming of age, of course, that's kind of a contingency. Blase, I still think has some juice in the tank. There's something here. There's something here that I think will prove people wrong, and that's why I have them a little higher, but I can't go too much higher. That's where it kind of has to, when we're kind of the rubber meets the pavement there, and I can't argue it above some of these other rosters. They just have too much punching power. I think people are sleeping on Shaq still, but I've never been super. I think the tanks are great. I've never been super positive. I know that they did well in contenders. I think the support line might be a little lacking. And that's, again, it's nitpicking a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. I think London's good, but hard to argue.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I agree with Dream. I think Sparker will be a Kai KSP dominant hit scan player. Very, very much agree.
That's a good call out. Cool. Let's go on to the next one, and then that's going to be the Toronto Defiant. Whoo, now we've got some variants here. Myself and Joe have Defiant at 8th.
You have them
Yiska
at 4th.
Has 9th.
Well, not 4th, but yeah, 9th.
9th.
That's the thing, Joe.
That's your team?
My 9th T can be 3rd. That is totally possible. If we're playing Reaper Sombra like every patch, and like Sideshow gets to draw the hero pools, and we somehow miraculously make it through like Reaper Sombra, they will be good, for instance, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I also don't feel like this is impossible. I literally coin flipped this.
Yeah.
It could have been 4 different teams in that position, realistically. That maybe that's part of my process, not being really thorough here.
Mm-hmm.
But like the recent scrimbux that I've gotten just sort of like hampered my expectations for that team.
Sure.
Then again, it's basically old Philly in many ways, and it's like, can it be?
What do you mean,
bad,
old
dude?
Philly?
I mean, Sado, Hisu, KDG.
Sure. You're missing Alarm.
Sure, yeah.
You're missing Funny Astro. You know, some of these gigantic names.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I get the Philly color. I get that. Oh, I see that, and I like Sado. I think he has a lot to prove with this roster. My issue is when it comes to hitscan. I really wonder exactly how well Logix is going to fit into this roster and gel. I don't really have too much problems when it comes to support. It seems like that's where a lot of people are kind of falling on the sword there. They're like, oh, like either they're not comfortable with the rookie or they don't know that Lastro is necessarily going to play. So that's where they have, doubts. But I think either or, and the fact that you could run both if the meta calls for it is a boon for them. I don't think Beast is playing. I'm questionable when it comes to like the downing of stocks when it comes to Neist. From my perspective, he seems to be good to great. And this is kind of the scope. And I won't say that I've studied Korean contenders all that much, but from the bit that I've seen, he didn't look bad by any stretch of the imagination. Has a great pass to him. And I think alongside KDG, this core could bring him back up. I just don't see why the stocks are so low. And then you have Hisu, and we saw what he did last season. It just is a big gap for me when it comes to hit scan. It's questions. I don't know that I'm confident in being answered, but I don't know that I'd put them 9th.
You're not that far away.
I'm not that far off, but
it's 8th and 9th.
There are some
that's
teams
where
that I
Joe's
feel like are
point is, right? Is
9.
The thing is, I still don't, like now. I really don't understand who your 10 is. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I don't see how this team could not be 10.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Is it Houston?
Okay.
Or Rain?
I don't know. You gotta find out.
Don't say it.
Right.
I didn't look at it yet.
I don't know what it is either. I'm just kind of looking at who else is left, and those are the teams that I can.
Jesus Christ! Just keep going. I already have a migraine from this.
All right, we'll keep going then. Next up is the
next?
Houston Outlaws.
All right, here we go. We're about to have it out.
No way.
There it is.
No way.
I don't get this.
Oh,
how are you that high?
Whoa!
You're crazy.
No. That's a shit take. All in the bunkers.
You had
We're lucky enough. This is a really bad take. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? This is so bad. This is so bad.
Okay.
You're going to be so wrong. What is going on?
Listen, Captain Scrimbux. Get your safety helmet back on. Let's get your hall monitor badge pinned. What? In what universe do you think this team is? Where did you put them? 5th?
I could have put them higher, I did.
If you what's their floor? Let's start there because this feels like a ceiling.
Oh, floor. Oof. 8th.
I'm okay with that. Like, what's their peak for you?
3rd.
You gotta sell me on this. I don't see it. You think Crimzo's a top flex
after
support?
the first week.
Yeah, how do we do this? Like, I need because again, like, I don't think this is a bad roster here. I have them at 9th, but how does Happy plus Dante or Hydration? How is that?
Dante Happy is like
that's a great
nutty nuts.
I think you guys are still way over. Like, every year you're like, Dante's so good.
I mean, he is.
And every he is
good.
He legitimately is.
His team isn't, but he is.
Did I miss a dream take on this?
Not yet. He's just mad that he's not on the departures list at the moment.
I agree. I hear those scrimbucks are very high. I'm not willing to run on that still, especially with how quickly things change.
I'm going to drain this so much after the season when I look big smart with this.
I think he's gonna get juiced in May. I think he's gonna feel right, and then as the season progresses, that's where I draw.
2-0 week, first week, my dude.
Sure, yeah. Get ride
Dallas
high
and Shock.
Start at the top, and you're gonna go straight down. The only reason I didn't. Where did I put them? I put them 10th. I had a really hard time. I think I originally had them 9th, and I might have had Paris above them. They might have. I think they were like a second to last, but I couldn't do Junk Buck dirty like that. I think again, I put a lot of faith in that coaching staff. I like Dante Happy. Everything else feels questionable. Everything else feels kind of like a dice roll. I'm gonna put my hands up, and I'm not confident in commenting on Jangoon. Piggy, I saw once in China and looked okay.
People to me were like, "Oh, like Django actually has a really good Rhine." I wonder if his Winston sucks. It's the other way around. Like the fact that his Rhine is not a liability already has me high on that tank line because Piggy's nuts. Like Piggy's Sigma is disgusting, dude. And then paired with Happy, like I almost don't care what the back line does. It's over. Take a whiff of Junk Buck, will you?
I agree.
Smells like packing. Smells like packing.
I know it does. I agree. That's the bright spots. The DPS duo and the coaching staff. Everything else feels. I need to see it before I can really believe a lot of these scrimbucks. I hear they're high. I heard they were high last season. I need to see it. I do not trust this team as far as I can.
Last season, come on. Like how many remaining members are
again it's not it's not, it's hyperbolic. It's not necessarily
the thing is, Joe, the fire is out, the flame is gone, we're cool now.
I think you're honestly doing them dirty like that, but
not at all.
I'll be wrong, that's fine. I'll take it. I'll take the L if it's an actual L, but I do not see them 5th at least.
I asked Eric to take a look at the strength of the schedule for me too, but I'm looking at it right now, and their double up teams are Rain, Fuel, Mayhem, and Shock. So four teams, 3 of which I think are definitely better than this team. One of which I think could win against them any day. And then you've got the London Spitfire, who we just talked about, could pop up at any point. Like, I don't think that this is what's so funny? Flame Beam.
Dream has a hot take. So
there it is.
I'm not going to eat.
Okay.
If it goes on
if
the
anybody
screen,
would know, it'd probably
it.
be you. So let
the real juice is always in the chat, dude. Like,
it really is.
Well,
nice. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're gonna have to watch the video on that one. Time stamped at about 54 minutes if you want to go and see what was said. Yeah. Anyways, there's no way that this team finishes 5th in NA. It would be a catastrophic failing.
Yeah, somebody's got a tank.
Not just somebody, multiple teams need to tank. I don't know.
Agreed.
It's,
Are you confident in their flex as well? Not their flex tank, but like projectile. I think KSF ended the season good. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you there. Yeah, I would have felt way better if they got someone like Nero in or something.
Sure,
right?
Agreed.
Like that.
I think that was kind of the hope, right?
Teams tend to get better with better players.
Houston.
Yeah,
agreed. 100%.
Very insightful.
Sick analysis.
I would prefer they had signed a better player here.
Do you evaluate the Jake support thing any at all? Because I don't.
No. But he's doing a good job, as far as I heard, as a positional coach, for instance. So
great, fantastic. I still put a lot of faith in flex supports as a metric. I like Crimzo. I think he did great on Fuel last year as a bright spot for a team that kind of underperformed. I don't know how he will stack up against some of these top teams, especially being fifth. That's where I could be wrong here, and they could be higher than 10th for me. But I there's a lot of
remember this moment. Eventually, we are going to talk about the story of Happy.
Okay.
And it's going to be one of the most tragically, like, amazing stories in the Overwatch League.
Sure. Again, from his history, always a sick player. Vesta was sick. Happy's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's going to be a bright spot on this team. I don't know that it's always going to be like, not positive, but like,
I would take Happy every time over XCI, by the way. If there's like without knowing intangibles and whatnot, right? But
just
Happy over XC every time. Yeah.
Agreed. I think I would tend to agree. Do you worry when it comes to I can't even think of one off the top of my head, just because most of them have been like either like mid to long range and Tracer or mid to long range and Genji. So yeah, maybe I don't know. You're kind of selling me on putting them up, but mine are locked in. So yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
let's
All
keep
right.
going. Do you have any more of those? Can I put the helmet away, Joe?
You might. I've definitely scoffed at a few teams. There are some landmines.
Just keeping it here.
Concerned about. Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it around, safety boy.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yep.
Atlanta Rain. Ooh, Yiska.
Yeah,
Okay.
there it is. All right, very good.
Yiska has the Rain up at 4th. Mine is the lowest at 7th. And Joe splits the difference with 6th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't. This one was tough. This was a team that I like the DPS for the most part. I love Kai. I think that's a great signing. One of the probably, I'd say the most dominant Western like mid to long range. The tank line never really stuck it to me, right? Like I saw a lot of promising contenders, but when you put them in the Overwatch League, it didn't necessarily line up. I saw good things from Iris, Elris, whatever he wants to be called. Masa's still great. I don't know how to feel.
Real quick, Seb, because I see you in the comments. He just made the comment, Yiska smoking that loud. You see that spot there on this like board or whatever? Mm-hmm. This is where your comment will go after the regular season ends. This is where it will be.
How much scrimbux is this?
A lot. Tons. The thing is, the reason why I'm high on this team is not because Molly is in it, but because
Molly could be on every.
For once, this team has built a structure that's almost self-sufficient, right? In terms of the ability, like nobody can say anything about coaching issues to the same degree that other teams would. This is a heavy grinder team where everyone just like out of the pure like drive that they have all go mega nuts. Kai is nuts. Pelican
agreed.
Crack freaking insane.
You know what?
And then Also, low key, getting Uncher. Ooh, that's a nice pick, dude. Like when I saw that, I was like, I'm putting them there, dude. That I don't know. I don't even feel bad 1 second about this.
You know,
I'm not scared for this one.
You know,
Yeah.
you know why you're a damn fool, Yiska? Is because you have all these feel good stories, and you just you are unwilling to resign the fact that great players who love the game doesn't make a winning team.
Works for the Shock.
I mean, do. I don't know with Atlanta though. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
It's possible. We heard the same thing last year about who was it? The team was like, "Oh, they're grinders. They love the game."
I mean, you know who was bad at that? What Toronto was.
Yep.
Toronto was bad about that. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're just a family. You know, we're just vibing together. Like we really like each other." Yeah, that didn't work out, did it? It didn't necessarily work out.
If we were wrong about the Atlanta Reign last season being 10-11, I don't know how they meaningfully improve this year like that.
I will say their scrimbux are even better than 5th at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like I think Sephi has been public about like having like an 86 or 83% scrim. The fact that they are tracking this also tells you something how they conduct scrims. They play to win scrims
which I don't like.
More so than others, right?
Right.
So but if the other people aren't, then like, what's the point if the other people?
I mean, you still should to a degree. I don't.
To a degree,
it's a philosophical difference, and that's also really important to understand. Like that's when people say scrimbucks don't mean anything, they mean they don't understand scrimbucks. Because, yes, you cannot look at scrimbucks and go like, oh yeah, this is the best team in scrims, second best, third best. It's not how it works. And there's also, therefore, an error rate in my thinking, because I don't have the pattern for all these new teams. However, the fact that you can definitely say if the Shock that don't like perform super well in scrims every week and still clap, like, if they are lower that week than usual, then they are also probably less strong that week, right? That's how predictions like, for instance, me saying the Valiant will beat the Vancouver Titans in Season 2 come about. Like, Vancouver Titans still always above 80% win rate, not 95 at that point. So, noticeable dip, still high up in the power rankings numerically, but the dip in itself communicates something. And as long as you understand that pattern, there's utility in this. And there's the error rate because I don't know what the pattern here is. Gut feeling tells me that Reign will overperform their scrim performance, hence why they're only 5th.
We will see. I don't disagree with like the placing. I think within 3 positions seems to be like a good or agreeable metric. I think we covered most of it. Do they underperform? Do they underperform? It seems I won't say that they're a meta team. They don't feel meta dependent in the slightest. I think Gator's good enough. I think Hawk, it's a position that, especially last season, really stuck out as a performance indicator. You look at Krong, you look at Void, you look at Choi. Again, like when you have a strong flex player or an off tank, whatever you want to call it, it does lend itself. And that's not to say that he's weak, but measuring him against some of these top talents, it's I do have to put them lower. I like the DPS again. It's a punchy team. Probably will upset quite a few teams, but I don't know if I'm riding high in the scrimbux. The exchange may be closing.
Damn optimistic fool. Let's go to the next team. Boston Uprising.
That's another one.
Okay, we're all relatively close here. I still like my Uprising. I'm keeping them 5th.
I'm happy to put them up. It feels like the first time in a long time that they actually get to be like at least mid-table. I feel good about team in general. It sucks that they don't have Soon. I'll say that right at the top of the review.
Yeah.
I was hoping to bank on him regarding tracer metas. Now, not so much. Not so much.
Yiska,
I think
you
Stan
got
one's
this
great.
big hole in your rankings. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this big hole in Yiska's rankings right now.
I'm not feeling great about this one. I'll tell you straight up, boys. Like that, there's something in there that has me really like. The thing is, like, even the Uprising being relatively high here, I don't feel that great about because they have major boom potential. The problem with the Uprising is that they're over practicing, in my opinion. So what they're doing is, once they're done with scrim blocks that the other teams have, they go and scrim their academy.
Yeah.
And
their academy teams, not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
I feel like they're over practicing heavily. And that can work or it can't, but it's not sustainable. So the boom potential is definitely there for them. So, like, while I think this team is getting up there, I would have a sick delta in where they can land. For sure. Yeah.
A lot of good pieces, though. A lot of good on this roster. I think Valentine's fantastic. I think my opinion's very known on Yunbong. Faith looks to be, not only an intangible leader, but somebody who is performing on the server. Punk last season had a fantastic showing. Sand One, obviously, coming from Shanghai. Like, this team has a lot of upside, and I think they're going to perform. I agree. It sounds like practice is a flowing, but I think that's a play to win rather than relying on a boom. What is so funny?
I feel like a Joe moment is coming on because everyone's like figuring out where I put Florida and stuff. It's gonna hurt, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
and I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about it.
Really?
I mean,
the Mayhem?
Keep going, I guess.
Come on. John, Boston. Feelings, concerns, thoughts?
They look good. I don't care what anyone says about me. I'm not a Boston hater. I like good teams and I rate them high, and I rate bad teams. I hate bad teams and I rate them low. That's it. And this year, this should be a pretty good team. And I think that even though they aren't quite as exciting as some of the teams that Yiska wants to put up at this spot, I think the Boston are much more likely, the Uprising are much more likely to sit there and stay there, constantly be a threat, but just can't take it against those top teams. And
Agreed.
I think they'll drop some boneheaded losses throughout the season.
Gatekeeping team, but that's way better than being last.
Yeah, I think gatekeeping team is a really good thing for Boston here. I don't see a whole lot of inconsistency here at all. Like, there's not a single player on this one. I guess you would put Fusions in that as somebody who can just be a little bit of a wild card, but even then, I don't know how much it matters in this situation.
I think tanks and supports are a great metric. I think teams that lean a little more DPS centered tend to be playoff performers, but not necessarily as consistent, especially with the format that we're playing. So I agree. Consistent gatekeeping.
And they do have their doubled up teams. Two of them are the Eternal and Titans. So
some wins right there. Definitely favored her.
I'm scared.
All right, here we go.
You should be.
Next up, the Florida Mayhem.
Don't say it. Don't let me see that right there.
7th. Yiska says
How are you
7th.
that low?
Joe says 5th. I say 4th.
You like Chris that much? Huh?
The thing is, everyone just got so much better, dude. Like,
and they didn't?
I don't think that it got that much better, no.
No, I don't think they didn't rebuild like a Glads, right? Like, they didn't like have big improvements, but I think...
Look, dude, the thing is, you know how I told you guys, like, in previous years, I always overrated when I had like a closer to connection to a team. I did it in many documentary series with these guys. I woke up for OG at like 3 a.m. to like interview this guy.
Yeah.
And so I had to course correct in the other direction, going like, I think
you course corrected a little
maybe
too
I
hard.
have course corrected a little bit too much. But Yeah, it's really hard to place them. I don't know where to. Like,
I agree.
The thing is,
not
me
easy.
thinking that Atlanta and Houston are amazing necessitates that someone from that spot where you guys have them
Sure,
needs
has
to
to
drop.
fail. Agree.
Right.
And if you think that's Florida, like, you think Yaki's gonna boom? BQB's been in this team God knows how long and performed. Had a great last season. Gangnam Jin, Slime.
I don't think. You ready?
Go ahead.
Slime's
Shoot.
washed, dude.
Oh,
Slime's washed. I actually don't think he's as big of an like
an improvement over
high performer as
Chris.
he's- No, for sure.
Okay,
Over Chris,
okay.
yes.
Oof.
Yeah, for sure over Chris. Not saying that, but I feel like you're accusing me with measurement sticks of last season. We have new measurement sticks.
I agree.
Joe, you can't use your ruler from like 3rd grade to measure up and tell everyone. That's not how it works. You gotta get the big boy ruler.
I mean, if you're measuring with yardsticks, and those include scrimbucks, and maybe Florida's not necessarily scrimming.
And by the way, Chad, you're free to have a good-natured soul like Joe, who didn't understand this was a penis joke.
Sure, yeah. if that's the case, then so be it. But I look at I guess maybe like DPS depth, checkmate being kind of a project. I don't know exactly how he fits in the team. Looked okay in contenders, but I look at the tank line. Yes,
Hold on.
Okay, holding.
John, are you eating string cheese just like that right now?
Yeah, string cheese is great.
But he's not stringing.
So what?
What are you doing?
He's eating cheese.
You know, after
You
I
gotta
turned
string
about
it.
eight, after I turned about 8 years old, I decided to start going for it.
You know, somebody had a very we had a very poignant conversation regarding Yiska
This is the bad
and being way too thought highly of. This boy's stringing his cheese, putting peanut butter and jelly on his crackers.
Yiska is a sheep for the dairy industry. He'll do whatever they want him to.
It's not that, like, come on, guys. It's not that crazy. He's just eating cheese.
Use cheese.
It's not like he's taking a Kit Kat and just like biting into it.
I'm on a diet.
No, this
I'm
is worse
really
than a Kit Kat.
hungry. Yiska is making me angry. I'm like, I need some string cheese.
It actually tastes different. It actually tastes different if you pull it like nicely.
I think there is something to like a texture.
The texture is
yes,
different.
I agree.
Sure.
The texture.
I totally agree with what you're saying.
That's like going like seeing like a wiener and going like, yeah, I think like yes. Like nobody does that. Like it's. Oh my god.
Okay, now that's cursed. That's cursed. That's where I draw the line. You're not going sideways at the bitch. Like, come on.
Unreal. All right.
I can't believe you put Florida that low. Yeah, you do your boy Yaki.
Don't bring
like
it
that.
back. I tried so hard to get us off the point.
No, we're not going to cheese dicks, okay? I get OG. I'm skeptical too, guys, but I think they can compensate.
It's also based on scrimbux.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the thing is, like this middle part is like in this soft region where it's like really hard to say.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. Definitely a mixy. This is another tier in and of itself. I feel right above 4, not 3, but like right above 4 is where my next break is. Anybody from like 4 to 8 feels like it could be a matter, a goop of teams. I don't even know. Like it could just be a mix. It's like 12 to 9, 8 to 4, and then 3 to 1 again could be a toss.
Yeah, I dialed back my Pepega stuff a little bit. I was going like higher on the top rankings. We'll see. Like I told you
like,
my top is infinite. It's not that infinite.
It's not
anymore.
infinite.
It's not that. But it was close to. I sat there going like, maybe I make it infinite, maybe. And in hindsight, we'll discuss it. I think like there's some good ideas behind that.
I agree. All right, shall we?
Yeah. Okay, that's the Florida Mayhem. Here we go. Dallas Fuel. There we go. We're filling out. Joe keeps him at 4th. I put him at 6th.
Damn!
Yiska drops him all the way to 8th.
Is this post XE?
Mine is, yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, okay, who do you think is going to slot it? That's my question for you.
Again, like this, mine were done beforehand. I'm locked in.
Right.
I have to.
So
hope.
you assumed XE.
Yes, mine was pre XE retiring, and
Yeah.
I still think that this roster is good.
It is.
Post, yeah, I think I don't know, like maybe battling for 6th and 5th, 7th. They're gonna even be more meta dependent. Right?
8th
like
is a long way. Where did you, Yiska? How far did fuel drop post XE for you?
They were ahead of Boston.
So
ahead of
you
Boston.
had them 5th,
Yeah.
or 6th.
Okay, so at least you stood by what you said earlier.
The thing is, I have an idea. I'm not sure if I like that idea.
What do you mean?
Well, who it is?
Oh, who it is? Okay. There are players they can pick up.
Heavily motivated. Like the thing is, in my mind, everyone is like, even Toronto is still like in the minimum percentiles of like difference between Dallas and Toronto. So me hearing a rumor of who it will be informed my opinion on that. Now it could be totally wrong.
Sure.
Hence why you don't have a report on your table right now.
Right.
But yeah, it's really tough. Again, mid-tier was super tough, and I have to shove these teams out of the way if I want Atlanta and Houston to be up there, right?
So can I want to make sure I caught that. You're saying that you heard a rumor of who Dallas is signing for to replace XZ, and it didn't instill a lot of confidence for you?
Yes.
Okay.
But once again, that could. But I heard names brought up. I extrapolated from that who I think is most likely for them to go for.
Sure.
And if it ends up being one of the other guys, like for instance, if it is actually legitimately Nene, my ranking would have been different. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's a tough one to gauge just because of how fresh the news is. I definitely will put them lower. But if they can get somebody in a timely fashion that can at least perform at a serviceable level what XE did, I still feel pretty strongly about this team. We'll see though. TBD on that one, but it sucks. It sucks really bad because this was a good year for Dallas. I still think this will be a good, as bad as it is to say, it does feel like a project team. I think next year, I hate saying it over and over, but Dallas, I think, could be playoff locked by next year, I'd say. You know what I mean? Like they have some great pieces as long as they can hold on to them, bring in more in the offseason. 2022 might be the play, as shitty as that is to say.
I'm also not giving into the Dallas effect this year. And I'm just going to say that where I think they likely could end up if they played at their full potential is about...
Right.
I'm going to just place them 2 to 3 spots lower than that and then call it good.
Can you imagine if Guard jumps back in? I didn't even like that, to be honest with you. I like the narrative of that, but I don't think that that's like a good enough filter.
By the way, that was a hilarious story back in the day when God was playing on Element Mystic. I tweeted, I didn't add anyone. I just said, Guard, like if that game showed anything, Guard is not Sombra. Then out of nowhere, Rush replied and just said, God best. He was just out of nowhere. He was looking up like Guard, like Overwatch or whatever. I'm not sure how he got to the tweet, but like, yeah, God was actually legitimately, if people remember, he had like one of the best EMP hit rates consistently on Sombra. Just like overall, I think farm speed was very high. Like, really good player on that hero.
You think they could maybe buy somebody from like Justice? obviously probably not letting go of Decay or Assassin, but like maybe getting Jerry. I don't know. Like I'm looking. I'm looking at like NA teams with Korean players that may be on the bench that maybe Dallas can like court. I don't know. Like it's tough.
It's really hard, yeah.
And there's not too many.
Maybe there's also a Korean contender's name that is
again,
very
you
obvious.
have to wonder visas, right? That's why I look at somebody who
sure.
already has the visa, who's already in NA, that like is just looking for time, and their team is, you know, will maybe be able to work with Dallas, and Dallas pays out the butthole to, you know, get a player. Like, I don't know. It's tough. It sucks because again, this team could do well, and I think they still can, but it's going to be even more meta dependent than it already was. So, what are you gonna do?
All right.
I think Spitfire are the most deep at like hit scan DPS, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to go mixed at this point. I think it has to be.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
Korean.
I agree. All right, that was Dallas. We're all caught up now, though. No more holes. Our top 3 are all the same.
Okay. Are they? I mean, it kind of has to be.
Yep. So here we
It's
go.
just positioning.
We'll start with the Washington Justice.
Yo, shout out to whoever said Merritt.
Going out.
Yeah.
At second, everybody else at third. I agree as well.
This team's
wait.
This team's correct.
Okay, maybe you went like this. You're wrong for that, but maybe you went like this.
Sure.
Okay.
There's
now
only 3 teams left.
You have Gladiators in third, and then Shock first. Yeah, Shock first is just like
it's hard not to. It's hard.
No, it's really easy because they've never won a regular season.
Wait, are you?
Sure. Yes.
Whoa!
Second.
Yiska.
Yep. And I was about to drop them through third.
You damn fool. You're just contrarian. That's what you are.
So,
You're just being contrarian with these.
We'll see.
You're gonna attack me for putting the Shock at first when they haven't won a regular season.
I thought I was just completing
and
the
you're gonna say that
here.
the Glads have had successful regular season performances in the past?
No, that's not the argument. The argument is that the Gladiators are absolutely nutty nuts.
I agree. That's why they're in the top 3. I think this is the season that will be the most likely to see Shock slip or have them slip the most. But I don't know if you can argue with that consistency. My point regarding your comment on Shock's regular season like performances, even though I think they've been very dominant, but technically have never won, that's true, is it's not necessarily consistent to the Gladiators, who have historically tragically underperformed with the roster that they've been given. I don't think that's the case this season. I think it's almost too big to fail. Have a lot of great pieces. I think they could be. I'm not mad at anybody putting them like in any 1, 2, 3 order, but I do find it hard to argue with the Shock.
Now, here's one thing that won't be insignificant. So we know Kevster is currently not with the team, right?
Sure.
What happens if? Let me think. If the Gladiators play an West Coast team.
What do I think?
Are they playing? Yeah, on which server are they playing? Are they using the latency normalization feature, or is Kevster just going to be onto an? Is Kevster in NA actually? I don't think that's possible from my information.
I have no idea, to be honest with you. No idea.
So, what happens? Like, does the Overwatch League say, okay, there's one player that's actually like really bad ping, and therefore like we pretend like it's on the East Coast and everyone's playing on 110 or whatever? Or do they just say, well, that's sort of like your bad luck. We can assure good ping for 9 other players.
Right.
That's 11 other players.
Yeah.
Then yeah, that's not insignificant, honestly.
No,
even though we've seen that Kevster can play on ping.
He has played on ping and it has looked good. And if, you know, he can find his way to the States, I assume he'll perform better. What really has me concerned.
That's a good question, by the way.
What?
Real quick, because I addressed it in the piece I wrote as well. Shouldn't Kevstar have the same issue as Soon and not be able to play at all? For one, no. The reason is I confirmed with the Overwatch League that there's currently no rule that makes it so that the player has to be in the same country where the host org is. And if the Gladiators are fine with Kevstar being in NA, then there is no cause for four-course termination of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
The assumption is that they are fine with it because like they know what he brings to the table. And so there's no conflict here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my assumption is even if Kevstar doesn't make it to America at all this season, I don't think he will be dropped.
I think it's probably too good to drop him, to be completely honest. I think he's definitely one of the most promising Western DPS players, kind of a full DPS player, colorless in some ways. And again, it's nitpicking for this roster. I like Muse. Is he a top main tank? Is he a title winning main tank? I don't know. I think he's strongly within top 3. I tell you that. That's just that question alone has me concerned. The fact that if they do get a double, flex support meta, what does Skewed look like? Is he somebody that you're going to want to put a lot of faith in, or are we going to see Moth on Zen?
Sure.
Not something I'm concerned. Something again, it's nitpicky, but that's where I feel like I have to argue with these top 3 teams. And that's again where I look at the Justice. They have more ways, in my opinion, to compensate some of those flaws than I think the Gladiators do.
Yeah. So it's close. I think I'm also the fact like if what Pre is saying, for instance, is true, that they actually like their goal is not really to win scrims, but to improve every single scrim, then their scrim rate is like their win rate is pretty high for that. And then I'm scared, right? Then again, like some other sources, do I want to say this? Yeah, I guess I can just have said that they are not that amazing strategically. There's just not a meta that Decay, Fury, and Mac can't carry.
Exactly. Like, I like Bebe. I don't think he's a top flex support. I like Closer. Well, I can't say that I like Closer and then people pull up, opinions of him on the fuel. I think there is intangibles to Closer that make him valuable to a team.
What did I tell you guys? I told you guys, like this is going to be a storyline that's coming into the season where the backline actually really doesn't look that bad. And that's actually a thing also, I think, publicly reflected in some players talking about it.
Yep.
This is not a bad backline.
Nope. Not great.
Also,
but
I love how Mag appears to not be a Scheinriese. If you remember the metaphor of like someone that looks gigantic in the system is distance.
Yeah.
And as they come closer, basically like the Who Are You story.
Yeah.
Epic Season 2, possibly the best player in the world.
Sure.
The closer he came to Overwatch League, the smaller he looked. And it's now like, I don't think Mac will flop. I think that's possibly impossible.
Yep. I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. Decay, Mag, Fury, that's enough to compensate any kind of questions I have. I look at the Glads, I go Kevster possibly on ping. Birdring, again, you talk about not measuring with the same measuring stick we did last year. I need a little bit more consistency out of him before I can go, okay, he's fully back. He's popping off. He had a great season, 100%. I don't think he's going to underperform, but I don't know how consistent that's going to be. And then you have Mirror, who again, kind of a role player, can plug and play in certain role, hero pool metas that, he can fit in. But is that enough to kind of trump a Decay, a Fury, and then anybody it feels like on the Shock, barring a few names? But
a big one is also in the schedule that the Gladiators have. They actually have a really easy early season.
Agreed.
Meaning they can start rolling early. And we know that this momentum is really important, right?
100%.
Yes, they can absolutely kneecap themselves early in the season if they, for instance, would botch this. Like, you can lose against Shock on day one. That's not a problem.
I don't think anybody's beating themselves.
You got to beat every other team in order to have a claim to a top team. Like, London should be a free win for you. Dallas, in the current state,
all of them
situation should also be. Boston as well.
Yeah.
So
these top 3 teams should be favored against anybody they probably play in. I won't say in the league, that means globally, but domestically, they're favored against almost everybody. Unless we start to see like stylistic mismatches when it comes to like certain metas that are coming around, where you could argue, you know, a Titans Valiant in 2019, where it's like, oh, well, they're quicker to Sombra. So they, you know, this team's shown a weakness, you know, and apprehension to actually rotating towards that style. That's where things start to break down. But on paper, ahead of the season starting this weekend, I look at these top 2 teams. I think they're fantastic. I think this is where the league really has filtered out, because I look at last year. I don't think, I mean, I'd have to pull up my rankings, but I don't know that NA has seen as much improvement, especially adding more top teams. And I do consider these 3 teams to be top teams. I think the gap is closing for the Shock. There's a lot of questions regarding player styles or where we've seen them succeed in the past, but it's tough to bet against Krusty. It's tough to bet against a lot of the talent that this team has. And that's where I have to put them first. It's a paper team that has proven it in the past, a coaching staff that has 2 titles to their name and the repeat, and a successful track record past that.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, betting against them is possible. Yeah. I would say like they're really slow. I think
they are slow. They've historically been slow. We know that.
I would have to look at the odds, but there's a really good chance that if you bet that Shock isn't going to make May melee, that's probably a high expected value prediction, because they're.
Say that again.
So basically, I think a lot of people rate Shock very highly. They have a really competitive early season.
Sure, agree.
So Gladiators, Houston, then the Mayhem.
Depends on how you rate Houston, by the way.
True.
I mean,
not all of us have them top 5.
Like the Houston can be lower in your rankings at the end of the season. That's fine with me. But it's really hard for me to see that they don't immediately start running out of, like, I don't think they're like 80% favorite against Dallas on the opener. Especially like with now XC out. So I don't know.
There's a good chance. And again, like you're saying, they've historically been slow. When we've seen the Shock slip up, it's been early to meta switches. It's been early in the season. You look at, and again, I stand by this. You go back and you watch. I think it was in the Dallas homestand. It was Shock Dallas. That game was a lot closer than the scoreline put up. Couple headshots difference, especially on control. Dallas could be going to game 5 against the San Francisco Shock, who obviously, we know as champions. Again, I think they could start slow. I think they're making melee. I think you see them as a title contender. I think it's the same thing each tournament, as they always have been. I think they make playoffs and you still get the same playoff Shock. It's tough.
Yeah, if they get in, yes. I think like the distribution of scores they will have is like 3-run, 3-1, the most likely by a bit, and then 2-2 really closely followed. Like, I think it's easily possible that after losing to Gladiators, they lose either to the Reign or Houston. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility.
Is that something you'd feel confident saying, though? It could be in the realm, but
I think they will go 2-2, yeah. That's my gut feeling on this. And 2-2 can still get you into a tournament, if I'm not mistaken. If they have like a good 2-2, then it's possible, right?
But you look at their playoff run last season. You look at what did they not struggle against Justice first off when that playoff meta started to really kind of get into gear, and we saw how strong Justice was. And then you see them make the comeback and kind of not write the book, but really kind of show people the blueprint, how to beat that. Like, it's not the same team. I have to agree with that, but that's something I feel like you can mark as a coaching difference. that nobody really else can argue. The consistency. I agree. Gaps closing, a lot of question marks, but I can't.
I'm going to be either so right or
it.
so wrong this year. It's
again, you're playing for the win, and you have to respect. You got to respect that. But
yeah,
Paris.
It's also
that's
like
tough.
a test field where I go. This year I weight scrimbux more, and it's also because like you have less regular season matches. It's a lot more volatile. Like tournaments are more important, which should speak for the Shock, to be fair. But there's a real possibility. Like if you just miss one, you're like if the first team doesn't make one tournament, your supposed first team, it likely won't be first.
Yep, agreed.
Right. So
agreed.
We'll see. Yeah.
And we have seen Shock not make first in some of these tournaments in the past. So again, it's within the realm of possibility historically. I think again, there's a lot of not gaps, but again, stylistically might be slightly pigeonholed in some areas. So it will come down to Krusty. I think this is where Krusty either makes or breaks his legacy.
For sure.
And even breaking feels like that feels hyperbolic and it's an idiom, but it's either like becoming a legend or like break doesn't feel
the thing is, everything how this preseason for the Shock is going, it's either a grand theater that the Shock is playing, or every little bit I pick up on is like less win percentages in scrims. Krusty saying they're heavily overrated, which it could be a meme. How Super moves around these questions this season, not being like overly confident or whatever. Could be a grand charade, like a meme that they all like went on and they actually like haven't been trying their hardest and have like been their old Shock and actually turned it down even more, where you can absolutely not take their scrimbux at heart anymore. Because I will tell you, that's one of the patterns where scrimbux for Shocks are really not that. Like sometimes they have a almost 50% win rate, and then they smash the best team in the league on Friday for no reason. They just like switch the meta in last moment and are just incredible at it. That is unfortunately the case with Shock scrimbux. However, I feel like there's a lot of like small bits of information that accumulates into Shock not having a great season start.
I'll take a humble team every day over somebody who's touting their scrimbux.
It's true. I mean, and look at how much it affected Yiska's predictions this year. Seffi's look at the scrims. Look at the scrims. Here they are. Yep. Pay up.
Houston,
you're like, all right,
Atlanta being up there, yeah.
And then Shock is like,
we'll see.
We're doing all right.
We will see.
Like, second bitches.
It'll be a good science experiment, regardless of the performance of Yiska's power ranking. It'll be a good test to see how effective is early kind of wind in your sails, how effective is like preseason scrims, especially with the format being as volatile as it is. We'll see.
Yiska, I am glad that you did go this route because you have access to some of this information, because we will then be able to like definitively kind of compare it a bit. Because otherwise, if you didn't do it that way or didn't at least pronounce it on the show, you could always be like, "Oh yeah, I had scrim information on that. I should have put them higher. Oh yeah, I was going to."
Look, for me, it's also like the ramp up speed. Like usually, my prediction rate at the start of the season is not that great. Mid season mega peaks.
Yeah,
where I get like a lot of tendencies right, and then playoffs like there's a different beast also because like stage 4 patches are real in this league. Like you just like lose the ability to tell what's going on. And yeah,
do we want to quickly lightning round the predictions?
We can lightning round the predictions.
No qualifications,
just for the spreadsheet. Very little if any qualifications at all. Actually, I need to even grab the spreadsheet on that. While we do that,
I know the first one is the opener is Dallas Fuel against Houston Outlaws. So Joe,
That's Houston.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah,
also because like currently the situation, even if you're high on Dallas, like the XC situation, they likely won't have a stand-in, and someone will likely have to fill that role.
Yep.
I'm still really confused on some of their positions. We'll see how that turns out, but yeah.
Cool. So that's the first one.
Look at these odds. Like,
yeah, I
there's
forget.
money printing.
Eric, can you remind me what these odds are again? Are we still using Odds Portal? Let me know. The second match is going to be a banger.
It's going to be a banger.
Really, two could be really great matches to start out the thing. The second one is LA Gladiators versus San Francisco Shock.
As much as I staunchly defended the Shock, I'll say Glad's 3-2. Again, end of season is where I argue.
I like that. But I'll say 3-1.
Okay.
I actually, it sucks because I'm a total hypocrite. I actually think the Gladiators, I have them slotted to win on this one.
Again,
as well.
We're measuring end of season, so
I think
start
they're
of
just
it.
playing too well right now. It's weird.
No, they have a lot of heat.
Let's do it.
Next one is free.
All right.
Toronto.
So,
okay. If you want to go NA,
Titans over Toronto. I'm just kidding. So we'll go to, we're starting with the West. So
okay.
Toronto versus oh my God, Vancouver. We all say Toronto.
Toronto.
The Reign versus the Mayhem.
That's tough.
It's a toughie.
That's tough.
Reign. No, it's not Reign.
I'm going Mayhem.
I'll go Mayhem. Fuck it.
All right. Then we've got Fuel versus Glads.
Glads.
Shock versus Houston.
Shock. I can't.
Not 83-17 though.
No, I can't do that.
I mean, on that, I would just like throw money at this because this is more like a 45-55. I mean, come on. This entire episode has just been in the theme of hot takes.
Go ahead.
Shoutouts to Reinforce. That's a Houston win.
Jesus. All right.
And
Mayhem versus Vancouver.
Mayhem.
And then we've got the Reign versus the Defiant.
Reign.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at the
Asia.
East. Loading
This is
up.
hard. Oh no.
All right. Guangzhou versus Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Okay, Shanghai.
Valiant versus Chengdu.
Chengdu.
And then the Fusion versus the Dynasty. This is 50-50.
It really is 50-50.
What's happening to my body? The warlock is once again possessing me. Yeah, Seoul, right?
I think, yeah.
I gotta say Seoul, yeah.
Yep. Seoul. Guangzhou versus Seoul.
Seoul.
This is spicy.
Shut up.
It's going to be a close match. I think Seoul, but this is going to be close.
Could be.
I think it could be. I think I rated Guangzhou the highest out of all of us.
That's true.
But even
And you are the Tiger King.
That's true. Chengdu versus Shanghai.
Shanghai.
No one. No.
I'm gonna say Chengdu.
Chengdu.
I will definitively say Chengdu.
I have to say Shanghai because I can't back up bad takes like you can. But
I mean, you get this one for free. No helmet. No.
And then,
I think this one is for free.
And then Fusion Valiant, they don't even put odds.
Yeah, I mean, God, my heart has to say Valiant or not Valiant, Philly.
Look at this
Yeah,
guy.
I know.
Iron cast heart. Jesus Christ.
I have to say Philly.
Wow.
I can't.
Really putting it all out
I
there.
can't do that.
I hope it's not close. I hope it's not
close.
It could
Yeah.
be, but yeah.
All right. There you go. There's our picks for this week. Sorry to go through so fast through that, Eric. We will be tracking the pick values throughout the season, so we can actually kind of see who's doing better or worse. And it's gonna be fun.
Yes, sir.
This
Glad to
we
be
know.
back.
Also, before we get out of here, Eric has been posting it in the chat. It's also in discord.me/tacticalcrouch. We are doing an overwatchleague.com pick'em this year. The link is there if you want to check it out. So, should be fun. Other than that, I think we are ready to get out of here. Big thank you to our patron producers, Refined Bean, Ferdino, Battlecrab Lotion, Rex Zane, Sir Girthalot, Porkchop Sammy, Kasha67, Shar, Nathan Your Misery, Fabled Steven, Roger B, Chris R34444, Bronze Bob Boo How, and Hotel Bravo 11. Thanks so much for supporting the show. If you want to support the show, we hope you enjoyed all our preseason stuff. Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. You can sign up for as little as $1 a month. It's a great way to support content that you love, and we really appreciate it. Big thank you to new sub Rangotastic and resubs Firelord Arkin, Suede, and Chris R34444 for the 3 gifted subs as well. That's going to do it for the show. But before we get out of here, Yiska, shout outs for the week. Where can people find you?
Put out 2 pieces today. One, the second part of the interview with Nuki, where she talks about how like the London Spitfire roster came together. Also, interestingly, talked on Provide and having wanted to give the guy a chance, but being blocked, and also recommending to other teams to pick him up. Also, I put out a short report. We talked about it a little bit on the show about how the Boston Uprising handled that situation, what the implications are for the rest of the league for a player like Kevster, right? Basically, let's chill. Nothing really extraordinary happened here. And Kevster should be good as well.
Cool. Joe, what about you? Shout outs for the week. Where can people find you?
This week, or just a couple days ago, I think I posted it today. We have a interview feature with Ellie Vote, with guest mention of Avala. She came in pretty clutch and answered a few questions regarding the format of the Paris trials. So if you're an Ellie Vote fan, if you're a fan of European Overwatch or some old heads looking to get back into things, pretty heartwarming hearing him kind of, battle through contenders in a second bid after Justice, kind of fell flat during COVID and unfortunately couldn't bring him on. So, him kind of battling back and looking into what the Paris roster looks like behind the scenes. So, yeah, check that out if you're interested. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. As for me, you can find me everywhere at Kickedtripod, except for YouTube. You can find me there at youtube.com/KickedtripodYT. Just did a review on this microphone, actually, and it was pretty cool to see people's reactions to it. Thanks to everybody who watched, checked it out, commented, liked it, all that stuff. Appreciate it.
Killing the game.
We are going to have a watch party in the Discord for the games on Friday. Discord.me/Kickedtripod. Discord.me/tacticalcrouch. Man, yeah. I've said them all too many times. You can go there, join up. I think what we're probably gonna do, Yiska. How do you guys feel about setting it up like spaces?
We could
like
think about that. Yeah,
function.
The stage function.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could bring people in. Anybody can participate.
Right.
But it's kind of a nice, neat way to kind of keep everything organized, and could be a ton of fun. So maybe we'll look at doing that. Maybe we'll just keep it open for everybody. But I know sometimes we've had 30 people
screaming. Yeah.
By the way, like, just real quick, it's not confirmed yet, but it is a possibility I have to jump in and out because we thought about doing cool content at the time, and hopefully you guys get to watch that pretty quickly on pretty quick turnaround. We'll see.
Cool.
See.
Awesome. Well, as that's gonna do it. Actually, thanks for hanging out, everyone.
Got through it all.
It was a ton of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. We are going to sign off. We'll see you next time. See you Friday for some games. See you next Wednesday to talk about how they went. Bye, everybody.